Hello everyone. This is not my typical setup, as I'm not walking around my backyard, but I think you can hear me better with this. Anyway, I'd like to talk to you about something I started on TikTok as always and bringing it over here because I have more time and hopefully more freedom, although what I'm about to say might not warrant that same privilege. I want to talk about something outside of what I normally talk about, which is conspiracy theories, obviously, things like that, aliens, mystical caves, consciousness, quantum physics. If you asked me a year ago, or you told me a year ago that I'd be, for once, not talking about quantum physics, I would have looked at you like you were stoned. But it's true. Um, I want to talk about the human condition. And I don't say that in a good way. The human condition, like it's a bad condition to be in. Because a human being, one human being, is smart, especially when pushed to the edge. They become cunning, conniving, methodical. But human beings in general are massively stupid. Like people call them sheeple because they're like sheep. And the reason being is they're so easily led. Because for some reason, and I don't understand, well, I didn't understand why I'm beginning to now, are so quick to follow anything. I even made a post about that on this. I said, people trick you into following them on TikTok by telling you to double click to confirm. Hit smash that like button. And you do it without even thinking about it just because someone told you. How do you think that people are so quickly to follow someone just because someone said something? It comes through conditioning. If every morning you woke up and I told you that the left side of your face looked like shit and there was dirt on it even though there wasn't, and you would go to the mirror and you would see that there wasn't, you would still wash it more. It's crazy, isn't it? There was a test conducted about, I don't remember when, but I know that it included 4 people, but though only one person was being tested. The other 3 were in on it, so to speak. They were going to be asked very simple questions and sat within proximity of each other so they could all see each other's answers. And the proctor wasn't really looking, And it was dumb shit, like which one of these is a square, or which line was longer, and there was one blatantly longer. And the first question, the 3 people that were in on it were instructed to answer correctly. Excuse me, Jesus. But the second, third, and fourth question, I believe, they were instructed to answer incorrectly. Some of them unanimously incorrectly on the wrong choice, and then some of them scattering around. So the person that was actually being tested, the 4th person, purposely put the wrong answer just because the other 3 people didn't. He could see it. So which line was longer, and everyone put the wrong one. He looked at their paper, knew the right answer, and still put the wrong one. So it's a sense of like conforming, doing what you think is going to be accepted by those around you. Whether you know it or not, everyone is guilty of it. When someone tells me that they don't give a shit about what people think of them, I ask them why they took a bath today or a shower. You don't want to take a shower in the morning. I don't want to brush my teeth. I don't. It's not an exhilarating feeling. Maybe if you haven't brushed them for 3 days, but who does that? The point is that we buy things, we do things, we say things, and more importantly, we think things that we should align with the expectations of others. And that perhaps, ladies and gentlemen, is why we are at a point we are today. Why there are so many people, it's so easily led to the point where there's a nickname for them, sheep. Sheep will be led to their slaughter. No problem. Which is what's happening to us, human beings. Well, hopefully not me, but a lot of you, yes. Let's take, for example, this COVID thing. When it first started, all the toilet paper disappeared and the rubbing alcohol was nowhere to be found. Why? Well, there's probably a couple of guys in Jersey that had a garage full of it. Why toilet paper? Why is that the one thing that you need when there's a pandemic? Where you can't wipe with your hand? You can't wipe with a leaf? A sock? Yes, it's gross, but picture there being no electricity and people are walking into your house uninvited to take the food that's in your fridge. Maybe kill you and eat you, who knows? One thing I learned about the dark past of the town where I was born is it's seen a lot. During the siege of St. Petersburg during World War II, Germans took over the town and blocked all food from coming in. So each human being, each man, was rationed 500 grams of bread a day, which is about a bagel. Then when the food shortage doubled, it was half of that. So half a bagel a day for about 2 years. With the brutal winters of Russia, this being still the Cold War, the World War II, which was in the mid-40s, there wasn't a lot of technology that, had heat. So when there were corpses laying outside preserved by the frozen snow, people would start eating them. First they ate their pets, then they ate their shoes and their belts because it was made of leather, which is animal hide. Then they ate the wallpaper because the glue or the paste that was holding them together was potato starch. Then they started eating tires, and then they started eating people, dead people, some live people. My grandmother, got out alive, thank God, God rest her soul, as the cannibal was sharpening his knife to take out her and her sister. Luckily, a soldier came in and shot him. And that is how they grew up. So Russians have seen some shit. Back in the 50s, everything was a little bit more harsh, more tough, everything. The soda, the burgers, right? They're big and juicy, worth 5 cents or whatever. The cars were made out of metal, to where if you took a 1950s Pontiac and you ran it into 3 Teslas, the Teslas will be pulverized into powder, and the Cadillac would barely have dented a fender, because they were made out of metal. The men themselves were harder. They were stronger. They were men. I'm not saying that there's not any men around now, but noticing, being from Queens, which is one of the 5 boroughs of Manhattan, where I was lucky enough to live from 91 to 98, remembering what it was like to cross the street on a red light, and you not seeing the guy that was flying down it, breaking the speed limit by 15, coming right at you. What would happen if you stopped, or you weren't walking fast enough? The driver would never hit the brakes. He would never slow down. He would lay on his horn. And God forbid you didn't hear him or didn't see him, you were getting clipped, my friend. There were plenty of kids clipped on that block. Not hit to the point of death, but he would slow down eventually, screech his brakes, clip you, maybe break a hip, get out, kick the shit out of you, get back in the car and drive away. Those were the 90s. In Manhattan, he wouldn't even stop. Like, they wouldn't even honk. It just don't walk. You better not fucking walk. But if you're walking, it's at your own risk. Nowadays, you'll have cars waiting for the pedestrians to cross the street on the green light for the car. I thought to myself, I was like, what the fuck happened to people? When did these people become such pussies? And that's because the only thing stronger now than in the 50s, or more harsh, are the drugs. Both prescription and illegal. You see, back in 1951, there was a project called Project Artichoke. It was a predecessor to MK Ultra, which is essentially a way of interrogating human beings and finding out the truth serum. And with that, also a mind control serum. How can we get a person to involuntarily commit an attempted suicide? Is that possible? Well, sure enough, it is. 1963 or whatever when it was, they proved that with Mr. Three-lettered Marilyn Monroe date or president. By the way, the person that took his life wasn't on the lawn nor in a balcony. He was sitting right in front of him. And he was the last line of defense after all of the snipers missed. Which is why Jackie got out of the car and climbed onto the back of the hood. Because if you are a first lady or a human being in general, and you know or you suspect that someone is firing upon the vehicle you're in with no top from a high vantage point, like a window or anywhere, The last thing you would do is expose yourself by getting out and onto the back of the hood of the car, or the trunk of the car, rather. In fact, the only reason that you would get out is if you knew that imminent danger was in the immediate area, aka in the driver's seat. On frame 332 or 333 of the footage, you can see the driver turn around, pull the gun, shoot. You see the recoil, and then you see the splatter of tomato juice. Then Jackie gets out of the car and climbs onto the trunk, where the running Secret Service agent pulls her off. She would later say that she was inspecting her husband's blood or picking up his brains. Another thing, my friends, is that a sniper shot from that far wouldn't have caused that much brain splatter. I don't know if you know anything about ballistics or trajectory, but that's not how it goes. A sniper shot from that far goes in and out. But a gun blast to the face from the front seat of a car, that would cause a splatter. So, Project Artichoke was a way to see if people could be controlled with the use of chemicals, like morphine addiction and then forced withdrawal, causing a person to be in anger and despair. All they would want was another shot of morphine, which, if you're aware, is heroin. Just a little bit more pure, a little bit stronger too. A person that needs more heroin is a very dangerous person. But a person that needs heroin is on LSD is a very dangerous but very persuasive person if you know how to talk to them. If you've ever been with somebody on LSD or taken it yourself, you know how easy it is to go into a bad trip. All it takes is a friend looking at you and saying, they're after you, they're after you, they're after you 3 or 4 times, and off you go into a spinning whirlwind of destruction mentally. What they discovered upon the end of it is that the drugs would work, but it would take too much. They needed something more clever, something more unanimous that would take entire masses and make them controllable, to the point where I will tell you to hit my follow button, share this video, and comment, and every one of you would. Now, if none of you do, that's fine with me. I was just making an example. But there are people that would do that just because I said so. And those are the people, my friends, that we have to worry about. The people that wake up with CNN, go get the Starbucks, take the train, read that newspaper, throw that newspaper in the trash, go to lunch, eat dinner, come back, watch the news, and don't want to see that there's anything else. I'm not trying to make everybody be a tree hugger or balance your chakras or even see the yin and yang. What I'm trying to make you understand is that you're living under the illusion of choice. If I tell you to go clean your room or wash the dishes, they're both tasks you don't want to do, but the illusion of choice makes it seem like you don't have to do the other one. And indeed, you don't. But before this conversation started, you didn't even know this two existed. And now you have something on your hands. You're being led to the slaughterhouse that's designed as a movie theater, disguised as a movie theater. And because there's so many of you, or us, rather, that are sheep, it's that much easier to do so. Back in the day, like I said, everything was harder, harsher. The cars, men, buildings, anything built. I would say the only thing that was more harsh now than it was before is the drugs. Because it takes a lot more drugs to settle down a mind that's open. I don't know what's going to happen to this country in the next 10 years. I'm not a politician. I could predict, but I'd rather not, because my predictions usually turn out right. Whether it's magic I'm pulling or just being lucky, but I don't know. People still hear the word magic and they chuckle. When's the last time you had soda? Any kind. Pepsi, Coca-Cola. You were a victim of magic. Because why did you pick Coca-Cola or Pepsi? Or Fanta? Why did you pick that particular soda? Because you like the color? Or you remember the commercial? Maybe. Maybe it's because you've been programmed to with symbols, spells and sigils, incantations. Words that are repeated, chanted over and over with intent in mind. You see, magic is not using your powers to change the world. Magic is finding the connection with the outside world that will change for you if you ask it. You don't demand from the world. You use it. Partner up with it, and it will help you. But if not, there's going to be a lot of dead people very soon. So if I were you, I would start preparing how to be a warrior in a garden. Otherwise, you're going to end up being a gardener in a war.